Those state that this is a date that is historic. Today is the 52nd anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. That event inspired 5-year-old Jeff Bezos to go to space today. He idolized Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong as a child. Today, Jeff Bezos becomes an astronaut. Now, what we're seeing here is the animation that after nearly 3 minutes, this 6-passenger capsule and booster will separate. It will send the capsule over the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space. And as that happens, the reusable booster deploys its brakes and returns to Earth. And after its time in space, the capsule releases its parachutes and begins its roughly 6-minute journey back to solid ground. All exciting to watch. And joining me here is CBS News space consultant Bill Harward. He's been covering space launches for 35 years. Bill, is this risky?
Absolutely. Anytime you put people on top of a rocket, you're taking more risk than the average person, no question about it. That said, they have gone to enormous lengths to make this vehicle as safe as it could possibly be. They've tested it 15 times in flight. They've tested its abort system. They even tested it with one parachute out to make sure that they could land safely. Even in that case, all that went well. A lot of confidence this is going to work like they expect.
Gail?
Hey, Bill, let's talk about the crew. We've heard a lot about this crew, but I want to focus on 18-year-old Oliver Damon for just a second, because he's going into space before he goes into college. Think about that for just a minute. Yeah. What's the significance of that?
You know, it's interesting. I guess if it shows anything, it's that they really are trying to open space to anyone who could afford the price of the ticket. In this case, his father bid in the auction they held it was going to go to charity to find a flyer. That auction winner had to stand down. He had a schedule conflict, and Blue Origin moved Oliver up onto this flight. He is very excited about this. He's been doing pilot training. He's clearly a space enthusiast. But at 18 years old, and someone said yesterday, you know, they were getting ready to go to the prom when they were 18, and this guy's getting ready to go to space. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Hello. I know, Bill. I was just hoping somebody would ask me to the prom. Listen, they've had two holds so far this morning. They don't have to give an answer as to why it is on hold, but of course, they're not taking anything for granted here. CBS's Mark Strausman has been covering this story from the very beginning and joins us from the launch site, as you see. Mark, this is good because we just got a message from their sister, Christina. They're all on board. And this came through the loudspeaker. She says this to her brothers: "Now hurry up and get your asses back down here." That's her words. "So I can give you a huge hug. We love you."
Nothing like the love of a sister.
Nothing like the love of a sister.
Yeah.
So what's the significance of this flight? Because we've seen SpaceX go up. We've seen Richard Branson last week, and now today, Blue Origin.
Well, first of all, for the 4 folks on board, I mean, what a moment, right?
Yes.
Jeff Bezos, his dream since he was 5,
Yeah.
He gets to bring his brother as his wingman, right? I mean, you have
wingman and best friend.
His wingman and best friend, and then you have Wally Funk, who's proofs that a dream deferred is not a dream denied. She's finally getting the chance 60 years after she probably should have gone. Now she gets to go up because she got the invitation from Jeff Bezos. And, you know, we've been joking about the prom and Oliver Damon, but I mean, what do you do for a second act when you go into space at 18, right? I mean, it's hard to think about. But it's, I mean, beyond like the personal experiences of these 4 guys, this is an important milestone for commercial space, for this massive industry of space tourism. It's largely unregulated to encourage innovation. The only grown-up supervision is really coming from the companies themselves.
Yeah.
They have to get it right, and Blue Origin thinks they're ready.
Yeah, they seem ready. You told me yesterday there's nothing like it. You've covered these many times. I have to say, I've never been to a rocket launch, just watched it at home. I was excited watching in my pajamas. You're right. There's nothing like it. It'll be over our shoulders. We're 3 miles away from the site. Doug Dunbar of our Dallas-Fort Worth station, that's KTVT, is in Van Horn, Texas. That's where we are, just 6 miles from the launch site. Doug, good to see you. I'm told that you know 82-year-old Wally Funk, and you met with her last week. She has a ton of flight experience and was even part of NASA's Mercury 13 program, but she hasn't yet made it to space. Today, she is finally going to get her chance. We are all so excited for her. What did she tell you she's most excited about? Which, by the way, Doug, let me tell you this. As you know, she's 82. She told us yesterday on CBS This Morning she feels like she's 24. And Jeff Bezos told us that she's got more energy than anybody on that crew. I believe that.
Listen, both the Bezos brothers are finding out this morning after 2.5 days with Wally Funk. They're exhausted. They're ready to lay back in those seats and go take a nice, relaxing flight. Because, as she put it yesterday, she is a 24-year-old in an 82's body. She's the quintessential grandmother who can outlast the kids in the backyard. We share a friendship. We share a mutual love of aviation. I respect this woman so much for everything she's laid down, not just for space and flight and aviation and history, but doing so much of that as a woman, especially back in the 1960s when they weren't accepted as we know that. And Gail, I can tell you the genuine feeling for Wally Funk is hope and admiration. This woman runs at 3,000 RPM when she's in idle. So there's a lot to do to keep up with her. And this will tell you kind of everything you need to know, to be honest. That is, after the Bezos video on Instagram, when he knocked at her door, she didn't expect him. She didn't know who it was when he knocked. But when all was said and done, they're in the room together, and Bezos has his film crew with him. And then he says, Wally, I'd love to take you to lunch. Where would you like to go? What's your favorite place? And Wally says, I'd love to go to Pancake House. That's my jam. And they call. Apparently, they're just about to close.
Oh, gosh.
So Bezos says to Wally, well, Wally, instead of that, can I take you to Saltgrass? Which, for those who may not know, it's a steakhouse. And then Wally leans in, and this is the quintessential classic Wally. She leans in and she says, Jeff, you understand that Saltgrass is expensive, and you have 5 people with you. And that tells you everything you need to know about Wally Funk. If she could lay that down to the richest guy on the planet. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Doug, I love this woman. Thank you, Doug. Nora, isn't she really our type of girl? I'll go first. Yes, she is.
Yes, she is. And such a historic woman. And so that we can all look back about how women were denied the opportunity to go to space, even though they were more than qualified. We should mark that we are now just 3 minutes and 18 seconds away from launch of the Blue Origin New Shepard. And joining with me here is former NASA administrator and astronaut Charlie Bolden. And Charlie, you're the only one here that's actually been to space. In fact, spent almost nearly 700 hours. I mean, we've got a replica of what this will be like, but explain the feeling of when you make it into space.
It's an overused word, awesome. I always describe it to kids as 2 senses. One is the sense of feel, which is the constant change in the way that the body is impressed with, G when you lift off to 0 gravity when you're in space. But the most impressive thing is vision, is sight, seeing the planet from that perspective. And that's what the 4 people today are going to experience that other people on this planet have never had. Significance, by the way, of New Shepard is the name. It's named for Alan Shepard. And so it's a suborbital space flight, just like Alan Shepard's first flight. New Glenn, the next spacecraft, named in honor of Senator John Glenn, the first orbital flight for an American. So we should understand the perspective, the historical significance of the names of the spacecraft.
Well, not only that, but that this is just the first step for Jeff Bezos. So some have derided this as a billionaire's supersonic joyride, but this is more than that for Jeff Bezos. His long-term goal is more than just tourism, right, Bill?
Yeah, it really is. If you think about it, he really wants to get his foot in the door in every sector of the space economy, from suborbital space tourism all the way to, as Charlie said, the New Glenn rocket that'll launch satellites and eventually people into space. He'll be competing directly head-to-head with Elon Musk and SpaceX when he goes there. And as Charlie mentioned earlier, this rocket we're seeing today is using technology they're perfecting specifically for their lunar lander. The engines will be scaled up for use on the New Glenn as well as a lunar lander down the road. So, yeah, this is just a precursor for Mr. Bezos of what he really wants to do.
Let's take a look at the live pictures now, because we are just about 1 minute from launch. And Gail, I know you have some questions too for Bill.
I do, Bill. I'm wondering what you think, how much pressure the Blue Origin team must be feeling. In the town, they're very grateful. They've been working on this for 10 years. We saw somebody that said, listen, we became millionaires working on this project. How much pressure do you think they're feeling at this moment, the Blue Origin team?
I think the pressure's there, but I think they're so focused on what they're doing because there are lives involved now as well as the future of their company. So they're very, very focused. The pressure's there, but I don't think it's bothering them at all.
30 seconds till launch, Gail. I'm trying to sound like the flight commander there. T minus 30 seconds. I mean, I guess I want to ask Charlie and Bill, what are we going to see here? You know?
Well, you're going to see ignition here in about 20 some odd seconds. So you'll see what's a really, it's a clean burning engine, and they'll lift off, as Bill said earlier. They'll be going 3 times the speed of sound pretty quickly.
Let's listen.
I actually want to see.
6, 5, 4, command engine start. 2, 1. Max Q. feet, Mach 1.
I want to bring back in Bill Harward, and let's describe what we're seeing, because we are about a minute and 40 seconds into flight. Something significant will happen in the next minute.
That's right. You can still see the flame of that BE-3 engine that's powering the spacecraft up, Nora, getting it up to more than 3 times the speed of sound. In just a few moments, that engine is going to shut down. It'll coast briefly, and then the capsule itself will separate. So we'll stand by and see how that goes. But so far, it looks, as they say, nominal, which you and I would say normal.
And of course, the engine or the booster, the lower part of this spacecraft, will separate, as you mentioned. That will essentially free fall back to Earth, and the capsule will go over the Kármán line. Explain the significance of the Kármán line.
That is the internationally recognized boundary of space, if you will, where aerodynamic surfaces like fins, things like that, no longer have an effect. The rocket also goes up that high before it comes back down on its own, but it takes the capsule longer. They'll descend and throw their parachutes out to make their landing. I think the engine, we're getting right upon separation, just momentarily.
New Shepard is expected to reach an altitude of more than 340,000 feet and be fully in space, officially making all of them on board astronauts. Do you think we'll be able to see the separation?
Yeah, we're watching. It's blurry, but you'll be able to see 2 objects here momentarily.
And Gail, I have to ask you, just to be able to see it in person, what was it like?
Oh my gosh, Nora. I don't even know why you get so emotional watching it. I think because you know that there are 4 human beings on board, you know how excited they are. But to watch it go up, we all just started cheering and clapping. You're just looking at the plume of smoke. I'm curious to see the separation, because I'm told, Bill, that shortly after that, the weightlessness will begin pretty soon.
Yeah, weightlessness begins right at separation, Gail, and we're hearing the crew on board the capsule right now. I heard Basos talk about looking out the window and what a fantastic view it was.
Let's hear. Can we hear them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is. Woo-hoo! There it goes. All my instincts are fun.
Okay, I'm gonna start back. Woo-hoo!
Okay. I'm here to got it. You're such a word for it.
And Gail, I'm looking
Have they
too
separated
online.
yet?
There
Oh, no,
are
they're
people
separate.
saying a woman has done it, you know, and an 82-year-old Wally
I
Funk.
know. And you know what? You just hear
1 minute warning. 1 minute warning.
I hear a lot of cheering and woohoo! I hear a lot of that. I mean, Nora, can you think of a better group to go up with than Wally Funk, an 18-year-old Jeff Bezos and his brother, who is really today seeing a dream come true?
Absolutely. I mean, what an incredible group. Each of them marking a milestone with this trip and proving anybody could go to space, just about anybody. And I want to just, so Bill, ask what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, you're seeing the booster and the capsule have separated. That is a view from a camera on board the rocket as it starts its way down. On the right, we're seeing the capsule at the top and the booster at the bottom. They're above the Kármán line. They've made it to what's internationally recognized as space. And it's obvious the crew's having a fantastic time.
And so, Charlie, are they in weightless gravity right now?
They're in weightlessness right now, so they'll go across the top, as Bill has described, and they'll do this parabolic flight and then start back down. It'll be a while before they start to experience gravity again. So they've got a little while now. If they had experiments on board, they would be hustling right now trying to get them done.
So they've unbuckled their seatbelts.
I think the 1 minute call that we heard a few seconds ago was a 1 minute warning to them that they're about a minute away from being allowed to unbuckle their seats and
Strapping back in as we speak.
So they'll let them do that. My guess is 2 or 2.5 minutes, and until they get back in the seat. Here we go.
Listen.
Can Charlie hear me?
Yes, I can.
Charlie, hear me?
I can hear you, Gail.
Hey, Charlie. Yeah, there are 6 seats. We were on board yesterday. I mean, I thought the capsule was pretty roomy considering what I thought it would look like inside. There are 6 seats. There are only 4 people on board, as you know, right now. Do they have to choreograph when they get up there? Because these are all full-grown people. Do they have to do some kind of, because once you're weightless, you're just sort of free floating.
Well, Nora, Bill, and I were discussing that a little bit earlier. That's they do choreograph, and they know that there's a handle that goes around the circumference, the inside circumference of the crew module, so that they can grasp that, so that they're not out of control. What you're seeing now is the landing coming down, which is absolutely phenomenal. So this is a powered landing where the vehicle goes back right, not very far from where it launched a few 7.5 minutes ago. So this is the end for the
Charlie?
Yes.
Charlie, can you just explain that big boom we heard to let people know that's supposed to happen?
That's the vehicle going back through the sound barrier, so it's going from being supersonic to subsonic. And you heard the sonic boom. That's like shuttle coming back. You hear the boom boom because of the shape of the wing, so they get a single sonic boom.
And Bill, we're seeing now this capsule that's returning also back to Earth.
That's right, and they're beginning to feel the G's building up. The atmosphere really slows them down as they come down to the denser region of the atmosphere. We're going to see 3 drogue chutes. 3 small chutes are going to pop out of that capsule to kind of stabilize it and slow it down, followed by the 3 main parachutes. It can safely land with just 2. They would survive landing with just 1. So it's a very well-tested system. And there go the drogue chutes as we speak.
Oh, there goes the chute.
And so when they actually hit Earth, it's slowed down. It's going to be a small bump, but the seats that we saw Gail sitting in this morning on CBS this morning, there's plenty of cushion.
Yeah, and they have rockets that actually
look at them
fire
coming
to
down.
soften
Look at
the
the
landing a little
parachute.
bit. They fire just before touchdown, so relatively gentle.
And Nora, the parachutes have now come out. That slows the capsule's descent to about 16 miles an hour. As Charlie said, when those rockets, the thrusters fire just before touchdown, it slows them down to about 1 mile an hour when they actually hit the ground.
Gail, you can see it, right?
That's spectacular. Yes, Nora, this is so funny. I'm bending down, Nora, I'm bending down looking at the monitor, and Mark Schaussman said, Gail, turn around. You can see it in person. God, you get so caught up watching it. Turn around. You can see it for yourself.
Oh, and
it's
Gail,
spectacular. It's
and we can see,
spectacular.
I know they didn't bring a lot of tourists there to watch, but people have camped up to watch it in person, and you can see kids there jumping up and down and people to watch what is really this historic flight by Jeff Bezos and the whole Blue Origin crew.
We were talking to people in the town yesterday. I'm telling you, I couldn't find one person that wasn't excited about this happening. Number one, they love all the attention that's coming to Van Horn. The people here are very nice, very welcoming, and they said, we just hope it continues. Listen, this is the first of many flights. Something tells me it is going to continue here in Van Horn, Texas. It's about to land. It's about to land. Oh, so it slows down. Mark, what is it slowing down to?
And I see a drone up there, of course, filming it.
16 miles.
And you're going to see the thrusters fire, and then it will slow down to 1 mile per hour.
Okay.
And just sort of gently land.
So you heard what Mark said. It's going to slow down to
touchdown.
That was slow.
We're told
Touchdown.
and we're told just an incredible moment.
Oh my God.
Charlie, since you are an astronaut and been in space, Gail, Charlie just breathed a huge sigh of relief.
Oh my God.
I can relax now.
I know, me too. Me
That was like a hard landing.
To be quite
Oh
honest,
my gosh.
you know, 10 years ago, I think there were not very many people who thought we would see this. Bill and I were commenting earlier about both of our skepticism. This is really exciting, and I think it's a great start.
What does it mean for the future of not only space tourism, but Americans and our return to space and what we'll use space for in the future?
It means that as we're learning, we can send quote unquote normal people. So instead of having to rely on a trained astronaut to do research in space, we can send a qualified researcher. People who understand the things that they want to do to make life better here on Earth, whether it's researching for vaccines or trying to make a material that's going to be stronger than anything else we've ever seen, or miniaturize something. So it's really important.
Let's listen to their reaction from inside.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and remain in your seats. Crew member 7 is on their way. Shortly, you will hear the capsule off-gassing.
Okay, I just want to hear this for a second. But then I have a question for Charlie. Charlie, why should normal people want to go into space?
Wow.
You know, there's so much tisk about the billionaires who are doing this, vanity projects. Could you really explain why this is so important? You touched on it briefly with Nora. This is so much bigger than what I think people really realize what is happening here.
It really is, Gail. And normal people should want to go in space for a number of reasons. Some of them have technical reasons to want to go because we know that we can do things in the microgravity environment of space that we can't do here on Earth. So we need to be able to send people who can do the firsthand research, who can do the technological developments and things that are going to make life better here on Earth. Whether it be weather satellites or whether it's medical instrumentation or what. But we also need to have people like you and Nora who can come back and tell you're good at communicating. And we need people who can write books and write songs and talk about this incredible view of Earth from that vantage point. And there have been, about 500 people who have had the opportunity to do that. And it really does make a difference in how we view our planet.
Well, Charlie, I have to say, we've never met. I will never do that, but Nora might, because she really likes this kind of thing. I'm very safe right here on the ground.
That's true. Let's listen in now to Jeff Bezos and the crew. Just so excited, telling me Jeff Bezos just said the best day ever. Let's listen.
Best day ever.
The audio is breaking up, and we'll get more footage later in the day from inside the capsule and from others, of course, and that will be communicated. Hopefully we'll have more of it tonight on the evening news and then tomorrow with Gail on CBS This Morning. I want to bring in Alan Ladwick. He is the Star Harbor Space Academy Executive Vice President for Communications and a former NASA executive.
Well, they made it happen. They actually did it. It's crazy. We was just going over this morning. And I was able to bring it to y'all live. So, all right, hopefully that just showed you what money can do. Man, that was incredible. No pilot, 4 humans, up to space and back down. That I didn't. The whole thing seemed like it went pretty smooth, but that landing seemed a little rough to me. I don't know about that, but it all worked out. I'm glad they made it through. Anyway, I'll holler at y'all later. I'm about to go to work. I love y'all. Peace.